Hi everybody, and welcome to today's virtual tutorial on art journaling. Welcome back. If you're new to these art tutorials, lovely to bring this to you. My name's Emma Morrissey, and if you have seen some of these before, you'll know that I do all sorts of different art tutorials for creative wellness journeys. So as today's is art journaling based, I have my journal here. And what I thought would be really quite nice to do is to do something, I'm just going to zoom this out a little bit for you, is to do something based on how you can create a sort of page spread through using some of your bits and pieces of artwork. And I thought, what sort of a better way of using up some of the artwork that we've been creating in some of these tutorials. So I've got just a little selection here, but you can absolutely use just some little experiments that you've done. If you've got any little paintings, any doodles, drawings, anything at all, then this will be absolutely a wonderful way of using up all those bits and pieces, particularly if like me you sort of do them in a spiral based notebook, and then of course you can just tear out the page, and then we can reuse and upcycle the artwork to make something new. So this is all what art journaling is about. So I've got a few here that I just thought I would have a look through. Some of them are more recent, some of them are a little bit older. So the first thing to do is to obviously get a selection of a few different bits and pieces and just start looking through them. Make note of the different colours. So I've got two that are sort of in the cooler blue of the colour wheel here, and all the rest here are all quite similar, funnily enough, in terms of the warmer tones of colours. So what I'm thinking of doing is maybe having maybe either the blues in the centre and having the sort of warmer orange tones around the outside because there's more of them. So that's the first thing that's always worth doing, is have a look at the different colours that you've got and the different shapes, because we're going to cut all these out in a minute and stick them down, and this is going to be sort of a wellness art based page spread in our art journals. So I'm going to get my scissors now and start to cut some of these up a little bit. And you can just do any shapes you like. If you want to sort of cut around them really nice and neatly, you absolutely can. If you want to do something a little bit more random, like I'm doing, you can. Just have fun with it. Okay, so there's one. And this is the little experiment I often do when I'm doing these art tutorials, is when I'm sort of showing you how to do different techniques. So this one of course was from watercolour when we did this flower here. So we've got wet and wet technique, wet and dry. So it's always good to keep these, and I think that's a wonderful way of, as I said, using up old pieces of artwork that you have to hand, whilst also having them as a little memory of your artistic journey, really, which can be a lovely, lovely thing. So I'm just going to keep cutting these up just randomly, and then what you can do is you can start to layer them. So it's kind of like you're making a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, really, because you're creating all these different random shapes, and you can see if they sort of work in little corners like that, and you can just place them in different places. And then getting some of your other artwork, you can start to sort of see where you might want to put something. So I might put this one maybe in the centre. I'm going to try and cut around this in a bit of a circle like that. I'm going to round off some of these edges a bit and make it a little bit smaller, I think. So I want several little bits and pieces in here, as much as I can get. Obviously you can have as much or as little in there as you want, depending on how many little experiments that you've got that you want to include. So I might put a flower here. So there's a floral theme going on here, which I didn't expect. That's always quite a lovely thing when you start to look through all the different bits and pieces of artwork that you've got, and you can think, actually, I've got a lot of florals, or you know, I draw in this particular style, or so there's all sorts of lovely things. So I think this is going to be a floral based page spread, and as I said, it's a lovely way of using different things up. I might put some text in here as well, because of course this is art journaling, so I will do a little bit of journaling about these different little experiments. I'm going to trim this one down a little bit. So what you can do is, once you've started to sort of collect these and cut them all out, you can trim them down and just sort of see where you think they look best, where do they work, and just move them around. A top tip is, once you've got everything in a place and you're quite happy with it, take a photo of it, so you've just got a reference, so you know where everything goes, particularly if you've got several bits and pieces and you're doing lots of layering. Then when of course you go to take all these off and stick them down, you don't want to then forget where they went. So take a little photo of it. That really does help. I quite like this bit, so I'm going to keep this here just for a little bit of sort of tactile texture. I might have that sort of just coming slightly off of the page as well. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I can fit in, because obviously you can have it as overcrowded or as limited as you like. I think if I were to put that one, let's just have a little see if that is a bit too much or if that works. Oh, I quite like that actually. I think that might work. I might just trim this bit down. So just go with the flow with it and just see what you like. You're basically making a scrapbook of your artwork in your art journal, and that's what sort of art journaling can be if you want it to be. It can be anything you like. It can be as detailed. It can be sort of all sorts of photos, drawings, and then sort of you can journal on top of it. So I'm going to start to stick some of this down. Now I've got some double-sided tape here because the paper that I work on is mixed media paper, which is quite thick, so I want to make sure that it stays down. So I've got some other artwork on the back here, so I do like to reuse my paper as much as possible. So I'm just going to start to stick some of this down. Something else which is a really good tip also is to have a look not only through your artwork but through any old magazines you might have. See if you've got any text, because art journaling, as I've mentioned in some of my other tutorials like this, is you can obviously do a certain amount of journaling where you're sort of writing and you're doing some sort of titles perhaps for certain pages if you want to journal about something specific. But if you're not keen on sort of writing things by hand, then sometimes having something sort of from a magazine, having some text can be really quite helpful. And then you can sort of start to arrange the letters the way you like. So I'm going to pop this one here, but obviously because there's a fold, I'm going to make that fold there so that I know where that's going to go. So art journaling is personal to you. This is something that you can just create in your own time for yourself. It's really quite therapeutic. And as I've said, it's a wonderful way of using up all sorts of bits and pieces from any artwork that you've created, to any things that you've just collected over the years. If you've got old sort of birthday cards, Christmas cards, tags from gifts, you can do collage from magazines, from any sort of lettering that you like. You can cut all of that out and use that. You can journal about particular days out you've had, holidays, trips away, birthdays, special events, anything in your diary that's sort of brought you some joy, you know, and journal about those things. But it's also equally as helpful to sometimes journal about days where you've been, you know, just sort of looking after your well-being. Perhaps you've been sort of struggling a little bit and you're just wanting to, a piece of artwork, wanting to just, you know, take care of your well-being. That's what, you know, this artwork is has all been about, you know. You know, on second thought, I'm actually thinking that I might just put that one in there just to be a little bit random. See, that's the wonderful thing about art journaling, is that you can make stuff up, you can change things, change your mind about things. And you can absolutely layer this as much as you like until you've created something that you're, you know, really happy with. Or even if you've created something and you're not too sure, perhaps you've sort of stuck something down, you think, oh, I'm not too sure if I've put it in the right place. Don't worry about that, because you can always change it. You can go over it with something else if you want to. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, I think that will work, I think. I'm just going to double check, see if I like the placement better. I'm going to keep that there. Okay, so I'm just going to start continuing to stick some of these down, and then I will pop back to the camera. I've got another fold here, so again I'm going to just fold this in half randomly and stick down half of it, and then of course I put the other half here ready for the journal. There we go. So just putting that fold in beforehand really helps, so that when you go to close your journal there's a little bit of give there. Okay, I'm going to pop this one here, and again you can experiment with different angles as well. So if you want to sort of put something down sort of and have everything quite uniform, you absolutely can. If you want to have them at different angles and just space a little bit differently, then you can do that as well. Also, as I mentioned, depending on the type of paper that you have worked on, if you're using up your bits of artwork like I am, if you've found that you've created something on paper that's quite thin, then you could obviously use some sort of Pritt stick glue rather than double-sided tape. So there's all sorts of different options out there. So this is my sort of art journal page spread at the moment, and what I am going to do is I'm just going to use a pen, just an ordinary pen, and I'm just going to start writing some words in some of these spaces here, but I'm also going to write on top as well, so don't be afraid of that. And just sort of think about what the particular selection of artwork you've done, what that means to you. So I've got lots of florals here, but I've got some fantasy, so I'm going to put just some random words in here. So that's always something that I suggest, particularly when you're sort of starting out with art journaling, is just have a look at the selection and think, what does it represent, what does it say to you, and then just start writing. So I'm going to put flowers up here. I'm going to put also just a selection of different font style, so I'm doing some sort of capital letters here, blooms. And, you know, just be free to do whatever it is that you want to do and just keep building it up. So again, I'm going to do a little bit more and then I'll pop back to the camera. Also, feel free to use different types of pens. So I've got sort of a slightly thicker pen here, which will sort of have quite a nice bold effect. And just sort of write any thoughts that come to you whilst you're having a look at everything. Something else which can be quite nice actually is to outline some of the shapes that you've cut out. Sort of creates little borders, which is quite nice. It also sort of changes up the composition of the page you've got as well, so that works quite nicely. And obviously the more pages you do, you'll have different shapes that you create and cut out, so that works quite nicely as well. So you get quite unique sort of jigsaw puzzle type patterns, which can be quite fun. See, it's starting to come together now. And as I said, this is something which is unique to you, so it can be whatever you want it to be. Don't be afraid to draw on top of the artwork if you're happy to do so, or if you want to just look for little gaps and spaces, you can, absolutely. Okay, so I'm just gonna go around a few more little lines here and there. Just create something a little bit different. I think also where I've got this sort of little bit in here, I'm just going to emphasize these little gaps that I've got and just fill these in with a pen. There we go. A little bit more there. And you can do as much as you like. You can layer and layer and layer to your heart's content with this and make it as personal as you like. So there we go. This is one way of using up all sorts of different pieces of your artwork, your art experiments, from little doodles, paintings, pencil drawings, anything you like, or as I said, if you've got anything from magazines or any photographs that you particularly like and you want to sort of arrange them in a little sort of page spread like this, then you can start to look for different colours, themes, arrange them, take a photo of it, stick them down, and then you can start journaling and writing on top of it. And it's a wonderful way of using up your artwork in bits and pieces. So I hope you found that helpful, and I will see you again soon for another tutorial.